wait now for November 18, a brand new venue, Melbourne's Festival Hall, the House of Stoush. Samantha, we're going to be there. It's going to be awesome.
Can't wait. Hex 28. If this was anything to go by, that one is going to be huge.
Thursday, mate. How you going?
What's up, dude? Good, man. Slow week on the UFC this week.
Slow week on the UFC. No UFC this weekend, but we've got some big news. We are going to Hex Fight Series 28 on November 18. Pretty excited, mate. A few fights to run through. We'll definitely cover that off in some more detail in the lead up. But one thing that I think is flying under the radar a little bit, or I guess is maybe the people's main event that isn't in the top 3 fights there, is Harry Webb. Hometown is Vaelona. You know, he lives in Ballarat now, Victoria. Trains at Infinite MMA. I really think could be one of Australia's best stars. Probably could break through onto like a contender series kind of path into the UFC. Some of the things that he said, you know, his record as well, just not just as a pro being 2-0 and having a good start in that fashion, but amateur, 6 knockouts, you know, 7-0 amateur, and in smooth comp, 30 wins and 21 by submission. Like, this guy's very well rounded.
Yeah, I mean, seeing the interview of him talking the other day, he's super young too, man. He's 23 years old. Like, you know, you look at guys like Jack Del Maddalena, right, who started their careers, was it 0-1 or 0-2, and then went on a 10-fight win streak. Being that young, even having as low of a record as he has and looking as good as he has as well, I think he had a KO and a submission his last 2. It's good signs, man, and it's awesome, like, to be that young. And I think he said he started kickboxing when he was 15 as well. So super keen to have a chat with him leading up to the fight, what's going to be going through his head and stuff. You know, still pretty new to the big stage, the semi-big stage, you know, as far as regional Australian cards go. Hex is about as good as it gets, so definitely looking forward to chatting with him, man.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up his age, because he was kind of right around that prime age when McGregor was at his prime. And one of the things that he said and how he got really inspired into actually make something out of MMA more than just a hobby was he went home, he looked up some McGregor highlights, and he was inspired by his karate stance, he was inspired by his domination, his mindset and everything else, and that was right around the time he was turning into an adult. So he took the sport really seriously. You know, he had McGregor as that sort of hero in his head to look up to and to fight for and to inspire his style, which is very much a striking based style, very confident, moving forward, but counter punch, you know, style, with a variety of strikes that he comes
How cool
from.
is that? How cool is that, being someone who's that young and being like seeing McGregor in ultimately his prime, like, you know, end of featherweight, Eddie Alvarez lightweight sort of fight. What was that? About 7 years ago. Imagine being at that age and seeing that and going, I'm young enough to be able to pave my path into this is what I want to do sort of thing, instead of us being old as shit. When he was doing that. But man, like, it's really cool now seeing the people actually like have their dreams come to fruition, you know, at that age bracket. It's really cool, man.
Yeah. I mean, that is one of the benefits of how, like, the world is so technologically advanced now. You can pick up a phone at any moment and be caught up in what's happening in sports. You can see highlights. You can be in touch with who's a superstar halfway across the world. Like, you know, now he can be from a small town like Vaelona or Ballarat even, you know, break out and not just take up a trade like most people do in small towns and kind of stay in that path that everybody does. He can do something unique and stamp his name in history and be an MMA fighter.
Yeah, awesome, man. I'm very much looking forward to chatting with him and seeing where he goes from here.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I've actually reached out to him. He said he's happy to chat, so we'll get him on here soon in the lead up. We'll try to maybe keep it out of his fight week where he's cutting weight and keep him happy, but we'll get him on for a chat. He did say he loves food, so that's great. I'd be really, really interested to hear if he's eaten at Marble Steakhouse, actually, because I got to say, Frank, I had the best steak I've ever had in my life last night. We went there, we had a ribeye off the bone. It's a very small, like, townhouse that's been converted into a restaurant. So you walk in, it's casual, and mate, they just nailed it. They bloody nailed it. They give you a massive pot of peppercorn sauce. It's made in house, and you walk away a happy man full of meat.
You know what I reckon we should do? If Harry gets his win, we should take him out and do a live cast there.
Yeah. I love it.
I know you're listening, Harry. I know you're listening.
We'll see if he likes the ribeye or if he wants the porterhouse. I don't know. I'll tell you what, if he gets the knockout, he can have the ribeye off the bone. If it's a decision, mate, might just have to give you the porterhouse. I don't know.
Brendan Favola's fighting on this card. We know what it takes to get through into a card, like the checks you need to go through. There's no way that he's fighting on this thing. Even if he's fighting a dude from the car park, I don't understand. I don't understand how they can like legally do this, right?
I have to say, Frank, I did see some of his training footage, and that guy can really eat a burger.
Oh, yeah?
He's throwing the medicine ball, he's having a burger in between the throws, and he's looking like he's coming off the couch here. I tell you what,
I think that's what they were doing. I think they were actually trying to make this thing like a piss take, because I saw the promo stuff like of him not pretending to train, to be like, oh yeah, you know, doing it. It's like a faux Rocky thing, like, but doing it badly. So I think they're trying to kind of take the piss of this a little bit.
I mean, you got to think they have to with a guy like Vaelona. Maybe they have to. If they're handing out medals at Hex, maybe they can give him one to go with all his AFL medals. But anyway, I did enter us in, by the way, when we bought the tickets. I put in the Vaelona code, so. If anyone's going to be the one that picks the name out of the hat, so to speak, if you look for Christian Saleh, I'm happy to step in there and come out of retirement and fight for Vaelona.
I'll be drinking beer, so I'll be in as good a shape as Brendan anyway.
Oh god. Anyway, we'll circle back on that and find out if he's really fighting. But look, it wouldn't be doing it justice if we didn't also talk about Jon Jones this week. It's a massive story that's broken through, and probably is the top story of the week now that we're bouncing off UFC 294 in Abu Dhabi. Jon Jones has torn his pec from his shoulder, so he is absolutely out. That is a really serious injury. We don't actually know really what sort of timeline at this point we might see Jon back. Now, the main thing is, off the back of that, Stipe Miocic has decided not to stay on the card and not to take a replacement. You got to think a guy at his age and everything that he's been saying, he kind of possibly might have been retiring after this Jones fight. So he's out. But our man Toby Aspinall has stepping up on short notice and taking on the absolute murderer in Sergey Pavlovich.
Sergey was the backup fighter for this originally, so he's had a camp. I don't want to say that he's got the easier of the two people here, like out of Tom and Sergey, but Sergey's been training. Sergey's been training for 12 weeks, expecting that if one of these guys pull out, he's going to fight. Tommy's taken it on a genuine 2 weeks. And I'm sure, you know, like what they always say, they're always training and always in camp, never out of camp sort of thing, so they're always kind of ready. I do like to think that maybe, you know, Sergey might have a little bit of an edge in this after having those 12 weeks. I want to park that for a second, talk about the Jon Jones situation, how they've decided to go for an interim belt as opposed to the undisputed title. It's been a year since Jon's fought, best part of. Stipe even longer. This surgery, I mean, just from what I've heard and from what I've seen, a pec tear, he's not fighting for a year, at least another 12 months. Best case scenario. We're talking 2 years of inactivity holding up when you've got two guys, you basically got number one and number two contender going to fill your spot. I reckon they should have ditched the interim and it should have been for the undisputed title.
Yeah, they're just not going to strip the number one pound for pound, and I think Dana's done a lot of hard work to mend the relationship with Jon Jones since they had him on the shelf for a few years and all that.
Do you think it's the number one pound for pound thing that was the reason why?
I just mean that they're not going to do that. Like, imagine they stripped Volkanovski of his because he's injured or something like that. Like, I just don't see them doing it. I think if you think about their TV rights and the deal with ESPN, they have to keep this a pay-per-view. You know, they have to keep this a title on the line. I think maybe in the long play is that they want this to be a guaranteed title shot for the winner, and they want to use this to maybe kick Stipe to the side and have that chance to kick Stipe to the side. It also makes Jon Jones defend his belt against them. So if they didn't have this interim title on the line, Jon would sit there and go, I'm fighting Stipe in a year or like 6 months or whenever he gets better. This way they're trapping him, and they're saying, you've got one guy to fight, he's keen.
Well, I'm trying to compare it to someone of recent, and the only other person I could really think of is maybe Jamal Hill when he had his injury, and they immediately stripped him and then put on Yuri and Pereira. So the only difference between Jamal Hill and Jon Jones is Jamal Hill's Jamal Hill and Jon Jones is Jon Jones. So I think the reason that they've given him that preferential treatment is because of what you see. You know, it's because of who he is. Conor being stripped when he had the lightweight featherweight deal, he still had a belt to fall back on. You know, like he had to give up that one to keep that one. And I suppose those were different times as well. But the only reason that John's getting to stay the champ is because he's who he is.
Their stars at the UFC are a bit limited at the moment. If you look at who is the pay-per-view draw, who's not, who's got that big fan base, who does everyone want to see, and they're trying to squeeze the last remaining juice, that is the John Jones lemon. Like, we don't know how long he's going to be around for. You've got Sugar Sean, who's breaking through a bit more, but we're running out of stars here. McGregor, we don't know when he's back. We don't know how much we're going to get out of him, so they got to keep that value in the John Jones image that they have.
Well, like we said at the start of this, pretty slow week in the UFC, but next week we got Jailton Almeida and Derek Lewis. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think you caught me last week saying that this is a classic Derek Lewis move to take a fight on short notice. He knows he's probably not going to win. He can go in, roll in, either get tapped out or get TKO'd on the ground and collect some cash and not lose face because no one's expecting him to win this fight. Now, in saying that, people have said this before when he steps in there and he knocks out Curtis Blades with an uppercut and moves on from there into like title contention, up the ranks, all that. He's a massive draw. Everybody loves Derek. You know, he breaks through on social media so strongly. They've locked him in, I think, to an 8-fight deal since he got his last win, and he's bounced back now in the winner's circle. So it'll be fun for as long as it lasts. I can't really see it going outside of, I'd say 1.5 rounds max if Derek survives the first round rush from Almeida. I think Almeida on the ground has all the advantages. That guy is so strong, so jacked. And if you look at how he just transitions from one position to another on the ground, always counter wrestling, always advancing, always threatening something, whether it's a strike or a submission, the person that he's controlling is always defending. They barely have breathing room to try to get up. They have to keep defending. So I see Almeida getting a finish, really.
Yeah, I'm the same. The over-under, the 1.5, the under 1.5 is, it was the first thing I thought. I was like, man, if this gets out of the first, it's not lasting long in the second. So, yeah, I think we're on the same page there. I think we can pivot here from the UFC. You know, we're going to be on hold for a sec. Our boy, Le Predator, is going up. Yeah. He's finally gotten his big payday, and he's got the golden goose. We'll just quickly touch on this towards the end of it. How do you reckon he goes against the old Gypsy King?
Mate, I'm absolutely really pumped for this fight, bro. Like, when this first got announced, I was excited, but under the circumstances, with all the negativity of the way the UFC didn't re-sign him, the way everybody was giving him shit about making the wrong decision and trying to focus on what they offered him at the UFC, he's had a long road to then come back from that, sign what looks to be a great deal on paper with the PFL. He gets $2 million guaranteed. And he guarantees $1 million or something for his opponent as well, and then he gets pay-per-view and he's on the board. He's on the board or something like that as well. Yep. Then he goes out and gets the Fury fight. Like, he's done everything he said he would do when everybody doubted him, and he had his back up against the wall. And now he gets to go in with a chance to shock the world. He can't really lose. He's already won by just getting this fight. I think Ariel Helwani said that to him, but you know Francis, and you know his story coming from the sand mines and trying to make a life for himself in France, and then eventually being that Vegas prize fighter. He is turning up to win. It's hard to say how he'll do, but I think he is in with a shot, and anyone that's overlooking him is not really respecting the facts. I think everyone that's saying that is probably just thinking about how good Tyson Fury is as a boxer and him being the best. I know it hasn't worked out for the other MMA fighters in the past, but this is a guy that has that one-punch power and is still in his prime. He's not washed up like a Nate Diaz or Ben Askren, who fought Jake Paul.
You know, the whole boxing thing, punches chance, all that shit. Like, you see a lot of the MMA guys that fight legit boxers and it never goes well, right? Deontay Wilder is a good boxer who has technical boxing skill, but he also does a lot of his best work as a psycho. who bum rushes people looking like Derek Brunson. Like, I think that there is the intrigue in this fight is the freak show nature of it. Ngannou is out of this world freak power. Like, that's what he has, right? If you're telling me that he's got 2 nuclear bombs attached to his hand and he has a chance to touch, we've seen Fury go down. We've seen, Wilder floored him a couple of times. And I don't know if the technical skill gap between Wilder and Francis is that big, where it's like there's no way that Francis can do it. But you know what I mean? So I think that the gap is close enough to actually say, hey, maybe Francis can land one on him. So I'm with you, dude. Like, as far as circuses go, if you want to call it that, like, I'm into it. I'm definitely into it, and I'm really into it to see what happens if Francis does win, because I know there's no rematch clause. So if he wins, talk about holding all the chips. Like, that's...
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for starters, that fight that Fury's already got booked with Alexander Usyk just goes straight out the window. So he'd be chasing that rematch with Ngannou. Ngannou has said that he would do the rematch, and I think as much as Ngannou wants these big fights for the big moments and the legacy and all that, he wants to get paid as well, and he knows that there would be no bigger fight outside of the Fury rematch. Now, does PFL maybe want him to do an MMA fight first and capitalise on having a guy that's just beaten Tyson Fury in the cage and maximise that?
Yeah.
I would say that is possible, and he may have to go and do that, and then he can hold on to that rematch a lot longer, and it builds, it festers, and then they can do it. So that's something to consider there as well. Now, one thing to probably talk about is Mike Tyson, who is beloved by all in the boxing community or whatever combat sport fan you are. He's going to be cornering Francis, and he's been training him. I just love the idea of seeing Francis Ngannou walking out with Iron Mike Tyson, right behind him.
Yeah,
just walking out with him. I'm just having images of him in the Hangover movie at this point right now.
But also, an element to this as well is that his longtime coach Eric Nixick's going to be there as well. So I love Eric too. And you know what? You know who's one of the best game planners in combat sports? It's going to be interesting to see if any part of his involvement can translate to boxing.
Yeah.
Go.
I think you just hit a spark in my head. I mean, we were both sitting there in Sydney when Sean Strickland, who was a 5-1 underdog, who had Eric Nixick in his corner, shocked the world and beat Adesanya. They came up with a game plan and they did it. They weren't supposed to do it. Here he is, a few months later doing the same thing. Different sport,
well,
same thing.
Nixick brought him to the top of the UFC tree, man. Like, he became a heavyweight champ of the UFC because of Nixick's, I believe, what Nixick had done to him. He won wrestling. He won the belt wrestling. Cyril, a kickboxer, he wasn't supposed to win like that. So, I mean, the way that this guy can adapt and the way that he can... I'm with you. I'm very interested to see in how this goes, purely because of the people that are involved in it and who he is as a person. So, look, he might get jabbed up for 12 rounds and we don't know anything, but there you go.
Oh, look, that's the beautiful thing about this sport is we can sit here, we can talk about it, we can say what we think, and we can be completely wrong. We can be completely right, but that's why we tune in. No matter what we've said here, we're going to watch. We're going to sit there. We're going to be a fan as much as anyone else is.
That's it, dude. All right, sign us off, brother.
Awesome. Well, great talking to you, Frank.
You too,
a bit of fight news, and I think most excitingly, Hex Fight Series, November 18th. Harry Webb rolls off the tongue nicely, but. Keen to have him on. I'll set up a time and we'll get him on here. We'll look forward to that card. And I think next week maybe that Almeida Derek Lewis card. It could be a fun one for us to maybe go to a pub somewhere and get some hot wings. I don't think I've actually had some hot wings since I moved to Melbourne, so I'm keen to test them out.
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of questions from all of our followers about the food fight cast and why we're not talking about food.
Where's the food? They're starving for it, Frank.
Don't worry. Look, we're just getting the ball rolling. You wait.
Yeah, don't worry, guys.
We're going to be
We're hungry too.
Yeah. We're going to be putting up menus and all the top spots. So don't worry about that. But
no worries, guys. Don't forget, guys, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Give us some feedback. Still growing this thing, but thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
See you, brother.